So we are here with Amara, who is an ex-JMC student and turned composer. So we're just going to talk to you really about developing your sound and your niche in the work that you do.
Yeah,
Okay.
what would you say is your niche? Like, what's your...
Yeah, look, that's
What's the unique thing that you bring
that's
to
a
the team?
really good question. Like, what is my unique thing? I think ultimately what people or what composers, I mean, I'm speaking for all composers, I'm not sure, maybe it's not the case, but I think that I know I want to get to that point where people will say, like what we do right now, we say that's the Hans Zimmer sound, or that is the John Williams sound, or that is the Trent Reznor sound, and everybody sort of knows this sound, that these people have this niche, these people have a sound. And I think that's what producers and directors and creative teams, they say when they're writing a film, they say, or a TV show, they say, we want it to sound like, because it's whatever we're exposed to. That's essentially what, what we want to sort of then develop in our own work. So I think ultimately I'd love to get to that point where somebody can say that's the Amara sound, but I really don't know what that sound is, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing as yet. Maybe I will get to that point.
And do you think it's a commodity in the industry that that you do have your unique thing, or do you think it's more like it's better for you, more advantageous to be like sort of a jack of all trades and be able to do a few different things?
Yeah. So look, I think versatility is a really good thing, and especially if you're in the sort of like the stage of writing and composing that I'm in, and especially in Australia as well, I think, because we do have a smaller market, we do have fewer films and TV that are being made, that if you're a composer and you can do everything and you can step up and say, you want hip-hop? Sure, I'll do that. You want action, you want dark, you want Trent Reznor sort of sound. Okay, yeah, I can try and recreate that for you, without people saying, oh, gee, she's just trying to be like Trent Reznor, or, I think if you're versatile and you can do that sort of thing and you can execute it, then you're opening yourself up for more work. On the flip side of that, and I've spoken to some people that have said, look, if you can stay true to your sound and your niche, and if you say, this is what I do and this is my sound, and that's what represents me, that's identifiable as me, I think that's probably a really courageous move. In our smaller market, I know I'm not at the stage where I can sort of do that. I sort of tend to set myself that challenge and say, sure, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Obviously as well, if it's a TV show or if it's a gig that, I really do want to have a go at, or I really feel like I can execute and do it justice, that's, that has to be ultimately what you that you can execute it. But I think,
What's your favourite part of it? Like, what do you like writing for the most? Like what like when you get a brief and go, oh yeah, I love like getting into that.
Yeah, look, I really like the sort of the world music fusion thing. So I really like it when there's something that comes along and it's like I was telling you about the Japanese influence one, but without it being overtly Japanese. So like they didn't want it to hear like ding a ding a ding 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 ding,
Yeah.
with a gong
Yeah.
at the end. So it had to be sort of subtle.
But drawing on those like textures.
But drawing on, yeah, exactly, textures and like slightly in terms of melody and harmonic stuff. So I think I really enjoy that when it's sort of like a world influence, but it's mixed with maybe an urban feel and something that has a bit of a fusion thing. Also this week I've been working on something like a lot of Indian sort of influences as well, but again without it being... you can certainly hear through the instrumentation, the tablas, that there's an Indian influence, but there's also a lot of other sort of Western cinematic and even rock influence in there as well.
It'd be like Indian sort of sounding instruments and tones and
Yeah.
textures, but then fit into more classical kind of, or like Western chord progressions,
more sort of Western, because the India, and look, I have a really limited knowledge compared to Indian gurus, but their tonal system is very different to ours, and they deal with a lot of microtones, and sometimes in Western culture that can be a little bit off-putting,
jarring for a lot of people. Yeah.
And I've written something, and it is dealing with a lot of microtones, and I'm sort of thinking, people are either going to respond to it, so our sort of our Western ears, or our Westernized ears, or our sort of listening, we've been taught that this is the diatonic scale, this is correct, or your sharp here, your A440 is your tuning note, and if you're anywhere outside of that, you're off pitch,
dissonant,
and your intonation is off, and that sort of thing. But they actually they deal with this sort of intonation thing over there, and around the world in other cultures as well. They sort of they deal with this as normal, like it's music. It's all these, which our ears hear, sort of.
And they accept that sort of challenging sort of tones, more, like get used to that, or like enjoy that more than Western people.
What's that? Oh, they enjoy that.
Yeah, like the challenge of those tones and stuff like that, where they don't quite go together, but we want everything to fit kind of into.
And so I've done that with a piece of music, and I was listening to it actually yesterday. You go away for a while, and then you come back and you listen to it, and immediately my ears went, gee, that flute sounds really it's not sitting well. It's like slightly out of tune. But that was the intention, that was sort of to play with that. And I think it works for the piece, and maybe and hopefully it will sort of be congruent with
the overall,
with the overall, exactly, and especially when the other instrumentation, like the tablas, come in, and the chanting and that sort of thing, it might be, oh, okay, now I see where this all sort of fits together. But I quite, without sounding, too, my ego getting in the way, but I quite like the sound of it. I think it works, but I think there'll be a lot of people that might think, she didn't tune her flute very well.
Do you ever get a brief and look at it and just think, no, this isn't me, or you start it and think, this isn't going to work, I'm not going to be able to do this, or do you just think, I'm going to just do it and give it my best shot?
Yep, all the time. Actually, with every brief, I've received so far in my composing career, my short composing and recent composing career, I've received the brief, and I've thought they've got the wrong person.
Yeah.
Like
Hans Zimmer says that.
Yeah.
In his most recent masterclass, he's like, as soon as I get the brief, I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to do it.
Cool.
But then he just
there
goes
you go.
for it.
And there's your answer. If Hans Zimmer is saying that, well, then who am I to say, I've got this.
Yeah.
And I think there's a certain level of confidence that you do have to have in yourself. It's pep talk. You have to sort of like, come on, wake up, you can do this.
Yeah.
But also, that's the sort of first thing. I think when somebody says, would you like to pitch for this? Because first of all, there's the pitch. If it's a TV show, they'll say, look, we've got a few composers in mind, and you're all pitching, so you're all kind of you're
putting in your resume.
Exactly, that's it. And they're saying, this is the brief. If you can get some sort of tracks to us in this period of time. And often, and this gets back to what we were talking about in the last episode about work ethic, often they'll say, look, if you can get something to us in the next week or so, that's fine. And what I try and do is then that day, I try and get it done within like a day or 2 days. So I try and always finish something before they require it, because say if you're neck and neck as well with somebody who also maybe is as good as you, but then you turn out, or maybe it's not necessarily a case of being good, but that stylistically you've executed the pitch and you've delivered well and they're happy with it. But if it's between you and someone else, they're going to go with the person who can deliver quicker.
Yeah. And plus they can go, okay, cool, that sounds great, what else do you have? And then you've got another shot.
Exactly.
Is that fair to say?
Look, I think, maybe
maybe
it might be the case. But with any of the pitches or the things that I've pitched for, and they've said, yes, we're happy with you. Look, you don't really know what happened behind closed doors or what happened in the culling process. Sometimes you do when you're talking with the, in one case I was talking with a producer afterwards, and he said, oh, we got some things and they weren't great, and or there was one that was great, but stylistically it was all sort of a bit off. So you start to hear a little bit of that sort of thing once you've got the
feedback gig. On your work, or
no,
just in
general? On the pitch, on other people, and
right.
why you got the gig because the others, and it's, and it's sort of comforting, I suppose, to hear that. You think, oh, phew, obviously my stuff was good and they were happy, and you have no idea sometimes the level of competition that's out there. You think, either they could be really rubbish, but then again they could be awesome, and then again they could be awesome, but they just haven't necessarily delivered what the director was looking for.
And does it help you in your work when you get that feedback to then improve your own work?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with everything, and I'm the sort of person that if somebody says to me, and I don't know where I've developed this over the years, but if somebody says, oh, gee, we really love that was great, I sort of don't take that well. I sort of okay, that's nice, but, tell me what I could improve on. No, that was great. This is perfect. It's just what we need. No, surely it can't be. Tell me what it, I'll do more. I'll do, and maybe it is because I'm new and everything, but, I think definitely feedback is everything, and it does help you as well. And you take that sort of what you learn then on that job into the next job. And even though they might be very different jobs, there's still transferable skills that you can take into each gig. Yeah.
And do you have a genre that you enjoy working with more than others?
Yeah, I think so. The
world music, right?
Yeah. So the world music is certainly the.
Is that because it's more of a challenge? Or
maybe, maybe it's that it's a challenge,
or it comes more naturally because you want to explore those sounds.
I think it's come naturally. Maybe it's also over the years, having studied and just sort of shown an interest in those different facets of, or those nuances of different cultures and their music, and how we can sort of blend them into our own Western sort of music. I think that's maybe where my interest, I'm not sure sort of where it comes from, but I have sort of for quite a few years, even before I was writing a lot of music, I was still quite interested in that sort of world music and seeing how that fits in. But the other thing as well that I love doing, I love anything that's dark and ominous and, textures and just has that sort of dramatic flavour to it, and then again, I really like the romantic orchestral score, and I don't know, I like it all, but certainly there's something about the world music and then the dark ominous.
And does that differ to the kind of music you'd listen to day to day? Do you write a lot differently to how you
actually
listen
it does
to?
Yeah, I don't it's interesting. I don't listen to I go through phases of listening to, say, film scores, and I don't know if it's for a case of sort of research, or maybe sometimes if you've seen a really good film, that week, and you just want to listen to the soundtrack, a little bit more closely after seeing the film. But day to day, I'll listen to sort of anything. I've sort of gotten into listening. Actually, this is funny. We're doing a podcast, but I have gotten into listening while I'm driving to a lot of podcasts, because when you're writing music all day long, you sort of want to escape the music a little bit. Yeah. I never thought that I'd say that, but I'm just thinking, oh man, if I hear another beat, or if I hear another bass drop, or if I hear another electric guitar, or if I hear anything, you switch over to classic FM, you think, if I hear another violin, and so sometimes then to hear the talking, you think, oh, this is a bit of a relief.
I suppose, especially if you're working at home on your own, and it's probably nice to hear another voice.
It makes you sound like such a recluse, doesn't it? But yeah, it is. It's, I think, maybe it's good to hear sort of human voices or something. I think it's funny when you've been working at home and you don't talk to anyone all day, and then the phone rings and you answer it and you got this sort of scratchy voice, and they say, did I wake you? No, I just haven't spoken to anyone for the last 15 hours. So I think we were talking about developing a niche or a sound, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's what this was
Sorry,
about.
I digressed a little bit, but we
went
kind
in
of
and out.
have, so like I think to sort of like sum it up or bring it back around again, I think there are two ways of looking at it. It's great to be versatile. Because I think if you're versatile, then some people will directors will say, yes, she can do anything, or we want to work. We've just done a TV show and it's about murder, and she wrote a great score for that. And now we're doing a comedy, and we know that.
I'm fine, it's fine, I'm allowed.
You okay?
Yeah.
Was it something I said? Was it about the murder thing? And
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Freaked out. So I think that, and then again, if they find that you're a good person to work with as well, and you're easy to work with, then they might say, oh, we're now doing a comedy, and it's about, I don't know, leprechauns and Smurfs.
Oh, nice. No, that's good. I like that.
And, we know that she can, or, he or whoever it is, they can do the music for that as well because they're versatile, and we like working with them. So I think if you develop that relationship, that's really good. But ultimately, it would be kind of cool to go, that's your sound.
Yeah.
And
that's
that's
probably,
the Hans Zimmer
I guess,
sound.
that's going to be something that I guess comes over time.
Yeah.
So you start off
Perhaps,
being
yeah.
able to sort of tick a bunch of boxes,
Yeah.
but then as you go on,
You
and
develop
you can get
this-
a name for yourself in
this sort
particular
of-
areas
this-
and then focus on that.
Sound, yeah.
And I
exactly.
suppose, does that happen with the networking as well? If you network with a similar sort of people, you will end up with a similar sort of music genre that you get into?
I think so. Like maybe that's something that's happening organically and subconsciously as well. So just what you said there is that, you do find yourself networking with these people. Look, I've networked with people as well, like especially in the US that have done, they're like producers of variety shows and like it's not the David Letterman show, it's Jimmy Fallon, so people that sort of might, do production for that or have produced written for the Academy Awards or the Golden Globes, I forget which one. So, they're very different shows again, but we forget as well that those sort of programs, they need music and so I think if you're surrounding yourself with those sort of people, then you might find yourself falling into a different kind of writing again, and then there's the reality show, the producer of the reality show, and that's the reality scene has a sound in itself. We all sort of know at a subconscious level you're hearing all this music behind the flying around the kitchen and the time's running out and so I think that's something that if you're networking with those people, then you might fall into that sort of genre or style organically.
More often, yeah.
Nice. Well, I think that's it. Thank you so much for
You're welcome.
coming. And it's been great to have you here on
been a
all
pleasure.
4 of our episodes.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, JMC, for having me back again.
Back again.
Look forward to talking some more.